As a man sauntered toward the closest AirAsia self-check-in kiosk at 8:59 a.m., an Indonesian woman in stylishly torn jeans and a gray sleeveless top slipped out from behind a pillar. She covered his eyes as if playing peekaboo and then wiped her hands over his mouth, leaving an oily smear. "Who are you?" the man demanded. Sorry, she answered before disappearing into the crowd. A second later, a Vietnamese woman wearing a white jumper printed with LOL threw her arms over his shoulders and rubbed her hands across his face. She apologized too before hurrying in the opposite direction of the Indonesian woman. Already the liquid that the women had applied was seeping into the man's face, rapidly jamming his muscles' receptors in the on position, causing his muscles to constantly contract as if struck by endless cramps. The liquid was VX, a chemical weapon that the CDC calls the most potent of all nerve agents, and that the United Nations classifies as a weapon of mass destruction. The man started towards the bathroom and then lost his only chance to wash off the poison and survive when he rerouted to a nearby information desk. There he moaned in English, very painful, I was sprayed with liquid." By the time an attendant led him to 3 policemen who were chatting rather than monitoring the crowds, he could only groan incoherently as he jabbed at his face with both hands. A bored-looking officer guided him to the airport medical clinic, but after about 3 minutes of walking, the man's knees had stiffened and his feet dragged. The nerve agent was relentlessly stimulating his muscles, and his respiratory system and heart already neared exhaustion. In the fluorescently lit clinic, he collapsed into a black pleather chair. His indigo t-shirt rode up his belly, and a golden pendant, digitally engraved with the portrait of his wife and son, surfed his heaving chest as he labored to breathe. A seizure rattled him. As his lungs contracted, never relaxing to allow air out, nurses fixed him to an oxygen tank. When he was stretchered to an ambulance, paramedics discerned a faltering heartbeat. But en route to the hospital, it flatlined. He had lasted little more than 15 minutes after the poisoning. The Malaysian authorities determined his cause of death as a heart attack. For the longest time, they didn't have a clue about the nerve agent or that they were dealing with someone of geopolitical importance, as his passport read Kim Chol, the Korean equivalent of John Smith. But then they stumbled upon $120,000 in his backpack. Though it took a while, the body was identified as 45-year-old Kim Jong-nam. Born on May 10, 1971, Kim Jong-nam was the eldest son of Kim Jong-il and was predicted to rule North Korea after his father. His mother was a famous married actress, and his birth was hidden from his grandfather and founder of the country, Kim Il-sung, as it was a result of a secret affair. Kim Jong-il feared it would affect his chances of succeeding his father, so Kim Jong-nam spent most of his childhood in hiding and under the care of his aunt. He then took a hiatus from North Korea to school in Moscow and Geneva before returning at the age of 18. After being exposed to the outside world, his political opinions on North Korea started to shift towards a more liberal governance, which was not favored by his father. Nonetheless, it was reported that he worked in the country on the State Computer Committee. However, in 2001, Kim Jong-nam would be in the headlines for being arrested while using a fake passport to enter Japan. This incident caused embarrassment to his family, so much so that his father canceled his upcoming planned visit to China. This incident was greatly known to have been the cause of his loss of favor for being the next successor, but Kim Jong-nam disagrees and believes it was his beliefs for reform. Though he was out of the picture for the next in power, Kim Jong-nam was still the favorable son to the public. He still had ties to the North Korean regime, managing accounts worth millions of dollars, checking in with diplomats, and leading those under his father. For the most part, Kim Jong-nam spent his time in China, specifically in Macau, where he primarily stayed with his 3 kids. He reportedly had no interest in taking the regime and quietly went into exile, especially when his half-brother, Kim Jong-un, came into power in 2011. Kim Jong-nam and Kim Jong-un were brought up by different families and had a 13-year age gap between them. One source said there was no chance in hell that they were raised together in any way. Another source said that the brothers did not meet each other because of the ancient practice of raising potential successors separately, thus raising them as rivals. After Kim Jong-un went into power, Kim Jong-nam wasted no time critiquing him to journalists, calling him a joke to the outside world, too young as he was 27 at the time, and saying his regime will not last long. Shortly after, Kim Jong-nam's funds from the regime were cut off, and the attacks on him began. There were at least 2 attempts to assassinate him in 2010 and 2012, and Kim Jong-un was rumored to have issued a standing order to kill his brother. After the second attempt, Kim Jong-nam wrote a letter to Kim Jong-un saying, "Please withdraw the order to punish me and my family. We have nowhere to hide. The only way to escape is to choose." Kim Jong-nam had also told a friend 6 months prior to his death that he feared his life was in danger. Kim Jong-un has executed several high-profile members of his regime, including his aunt and uncle, since he became North Korea's supreme leader in 2011. In May of 2015, South Korean intelligence officials said he ordered his defense minister to be blasted to pieces with an anti-aircraft gun for falling asleep at a meeting. The next day, South Korean news agencies announced that Kim Jong-nam had been murdered. The money in his backpack was likely money from the CIA in exchange for information about the regime. When airport CCTV footage of the attack leaked to a Japanese news outlet, the story went viral worldwide, dominating TV and the internet. By the following morning, observers were noting that the 2 women whom police had quickly captured had not acted alone. At least 4 men subsequently described by South Korea's intelligence agency as spies had orchestrated the attack. The female assassins had been identified on the CCTV footage. The Vietnamese woman's white jumper adorned with LOL was 29-year-old Daunting, who was arrested the day after the killing when she returned to the airport. She had been born in a rural Vietnamese village, auditioned for Vietnam Idol, and ended up working as an escort in Hanoi. The morning after the assassin, Malaysian police marched through the hallways of the Flamingo Hotel in Kuala Lumpur to find the second assassin, a 25-year-old from Indonesia named Siti Aisyah. She was a divorced mother who worked as a spa masseuse in Kuala Lumpur and regularly returned to Indonesia to visit her mom and son. From the CCTV footage, Doan and Siti's guilt seemed clear until, under interrogation, they both separately explained that they thought they'd merely slathered Kim Jong-nam with a harmless liquid for a hidden camera TV show. The Malaysian chief of police scoffed at that idea at a news conference, declaring, "The 2 female suspects knew the substance was toxic." He pointed out that immediately after tagging Kim Jong-nam, they had run to the bathroom to scrub the poison off their palms. But they were adamant they had certainly not meant to hurt anyone, let alone kill them. Siti claimed that she was recruited on January 5, 2017, when she was approached by a man named John, who asked her to find girls he could film smearing lotion on the faces of strangers. He proposed to pay over $100, which was significantly more money than she was making a day. He directed her to smear a baby oil-like substance on the face of a woman and apologize after, and all went smooth. Believing this was an easy way to make money, she repeated this a few times using oil or hot sauce and went along with his plans, believing it would make her famous. Similarly, Doan was approached by a Korean man who asked to be called Hanamori, meaning uncle. Like Siti, she began filming these prank videos for cash, including surprising a man in the park with a kiss. 11 days before the assassination, Doan performed one of these pranks at an airport in Vietnam, where she smeared baby cream on a man's face and then walked away. On the morning of the murder, they were taken to the airport and told to look away and stick out their hands, and an oily substance licked their palms. Siti noticed it smelled like machine oil, though the previous liquids were odorless. Doan was instructed to wear a white shirt with an LOL print, and they were told to look for a man in a gray blazer with a dark backpack, smear his face, apologize after, leave quickly, and wash their hands immediately. Prosecutors charged the two women with murder along with 4 North Korean nationals who orchestrated the assassination, but they were released due to a lack of evidence. With only the 2 women left, the Malaysian authorities were convinced that they were in on it. However, after combing through thousands of pages of text messages, there was nothing to suggest that Siti or Doan knew anything about an assassination plot, only the prank videos they were filming. Neither woman changed out or even washed their clothes, which they likely would have had they known they were handling a deadly chemical. The surveillance footage shows Siti rubbing the palms of her hands together immediately following the Kim Jong-nam incident, begging the question, if she knew it was VX, then why would she be rubbing it into her hands? Furthermore, Doan returned to the scene of the crime, the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, just 2 days later on the instructions from a man who said they'd be shooting another prank video there. When she got to the airport, she couldn't reach him and was apprehended by police. Not a singular person who orchestrated the assassination faced consequences aside from the 2 women. While awaiting trial, Siti originally thought being in jail was part of the prank. She did not realize the circumstance until she was shown an article that stated Kim Jong-nam died, to which she cried. She was released from prison in March 2019, and Doan was released 2 months after. Siti said, "Doan and I grew very close over the course of the trial. I always gave my support to her, and she always gave her support to me. When I cried, she would always console me. And when she cried, I would do the same for her. I think of her as my own sister." The North Korean regime has never formally admitted to the Kim Jong-nam assassination, though in late 2018 they reportedly expressed regret to Vietnam, a strategic ally, for involving one of their people. Dr. Remco Brooker, an expert on North Korea at Leiden University, said, "I don't think North Korea cared either way whether these women were released or executed. For them, this was over long ago. North Korea hasn't been indicted. The people who were connected to the killing left the country in the immediate aftermath, so they got away scot-free. As the assassination and this trial have shown, they can act with near total impunity and will probably do so again." This is the bizarre story of how 2 women from 2 different countries were tricked into committing a public political assassination. Thank you all for following our story on the life and death of Kim Jong-nam. For more resources, check our description box, and stay tuned for our next video.